So everyone can hear me? I think we're pretty good on that. So I'm just gonna say good morning. So hopefully you had a really good evening. I'm just gonna do some minor adjustments, but I hope that the evening has been good for you. It's been a pretty solid couple of hours since our first ever Autodesk. Okay, sorry, a couple people just hopped in. Okay. So hello, good morning. Welcome to the Mbadika Autodesk Tinker Together Webinar Day 2. If you're just joining us, welcome. I hope you're having a great morning, regardless of what coast you're joining us from. I see a couple of repeats from yesterday, some new faces. So welcome to this amazing webinar. In order to get started, we always give a couple of minutes at the top of the hour to allow for people to go through Zoom, make sure they have the right link, making sure they can hear us, etc. So we're going to start in about 9 minutes. Before we get started, if you want to get ahead of the game, just like yesterday for our returning participants, and this is for our new participants, what I'm going to need you to do is make sure you have a writing utensil, like a pen or a colored pencil or a colored marker, etc. Some paper, whether it's in a notebook or some scrap paper that you have lying around the house. And last but not least, if possible, I want you to have in your head, if you remember your homework from yesterday, and I say homework loosely, and if you're just joining us, this was the assignment yesterday, was to brainstorm what would be your perfect oasis and how could you bring it to life with materials available in your own home. So that's what I hope you guys are gathering up and make sure you have ready. We're going to start 10 minutes after the hour, depending on your time zone. So we're going to give everybody another 8 minutes to get straight before we get to it. And if this is your first time joining us, my name is Nisha McCrae, and I'll be the host of this webinar, which is a collaboration with Mbadika, my nonprofit organization, and Autodesk. And let's get started in a few minutes. Boom. About 6 more minutes, and there was something I completely forgot to mention, so that was my apologies. Also, make sure that you have a Tinkercad account and you're logged into your Tinkercad dashboard. I don't know how I forgot to say that. See, this is what happens when it's a Tuesday and you're already ready to go. You forget the basics. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat. So materials needed. are going to be your writing utensil, such as a pen, pencil, marker, whatever suits your fancy today. We're not going to be picky. And besides, I'm not even really going to be seeing it because you're on the other side of the screen. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to do a sample run here. Let's get to, there we go. And I'm just playing around with some stuff while I'm waiting for everyone to log in, so don't mind me. For those whose today is their first day, I can give just a brief refresher of what we did yesterday. So this here was our wonderful first project. It was a cupcake topper, so we made a digital version of a cupcake, a very abstract version, if you ask me. So this is our cupcake topper, which I made inspired by the Avengers because I'm a huge Marvel fan. And then this was our version of a very abstract cupcake, since the focus of the project was more around that cupcake topper. Today, we're going to be doing something more involved with creating an oasis in your own home, which is what we're going to actually do using Tinkercad. If you want to see what the afternoon session looks like, if you weren't able to join us, the afternoon session was that we took some inspiration from Korean home cafes, which if it's an unfamiliar category to you, no worries. It was something I discovered during our stay-at-home time the past couple of weeks here in Boston, in which pretty much people actually just record videos, just like mukbangers record themselves eating in their own homes. Korean home cafe videos are pretty much when people replicate those very complicated beverage recipes that you will see at a Starbucks or you will see at Teavana, and actually recreate them at home in very unique beverages with cute ice cubes and things that are just trying to hit super adorable levels. And so this here was a strawberry inspired drink container that we made using Tinkercad in order to learn how to do complicated shapes. Well, I would say complicated for a first day, as well as how to do tops and bottoms. So here, I'm just making sure my mouse is cooperating with me to actually showcase like the CAD model, etc. So this was the stuff that we actually worked on yesterday. We're going to take it a step back and do something a little bit different. So make sure that you're logged into Tinkercad and you can actually see your dashboard. And hopefully the music isn't too loud today. I did see some comments yesterday as we were testing out, trying to get, not trying to share all my business, trying to get the actual music playing. I was hoping to break up the silence that is really prevalent when you're on these webinar calls and you're doing your own work, that it's not what we'll call too eeky. I see, one sec. We're gonna give everybody about two more minutes to come on. Let's see. And I see that we have a question. The question is, did I say things from your house? Yes. So what we were doing yesterday to end off the day is that I wanted you to brainstorm what would be your perfect oasis if you could build your perfect oasis or getaway or your secret place like a pillow fort within your house. And if you were to do that, what materials that are available in your home for you to be able to do so? So that's what the prompt was yesterday. So feel free to take notes as we're closing down on our final minute before we get started. And I'm shifting some things around just to make it a little bit easier for us. Okay, last call for folks to get straight. We're about to get started. As you can see, if those who are already familiar with Tinkercad, get a little sneak peek about what we're going to be working with today. But everyone should be at their dashboard. Ignore my horribly organized dashboard. I do a lot of projects on Tinkercad, and I also help a lot of students with their projects. So you're just going to see a kerfuffle of mess on my dashboard. Hopefully your dashboard doesn't look like this, but it's okay if it does. So I'm going to stop my screen share here for a second. Okay, looks like we have another question. 1 second before we get started. Okay, it seems like we have almost everybody here. Thank you. Okay, so just to review, hi, this is the Mbadika and Autodesk Tinkercad webinar. This is our Tinker Together, which is basically a daily series of webinars in order to explore the Tinkercad software and other STEAM activities you can do at home in order to continue to tinker together during these times. My name is Nisha McCrae. I will be the host of these webinars, and I'm the founder and executive director of a STEM nonprofit called Mbadika, and we do this all day, every day. This has been my passion and something that my team has enjoyed for the past 10 years. Unfortunately, given the present circumstances, I can't really show you all my team just yet, but we're working on a nice little surprise for you all to have like a little make-a-thon with my team, so stay tuned. But otherwise, I hope you have your writing utensil, which is a pen, pencil, colored pencil, marker, whatever you can get your hands on to write on. Even a crayon would work in this, a piece of paper or scrap paper that you can use to start jotting down or sketching your idea. And finally, everyone is logged into their Tinkercad, or they've created a Tinkercad account and have logged in, and they see a wonderful dashboard. So as I told some of the folks who came in a little early today, this is the second day of this webinar series. What we did yesterday was we did 2 projects. The morning session, we actually created a cupcake topper as a little celebratory, let's call it, project for us staying at home and doing what we can do in order to help everyone going through COVID-19 and battling this virus. In the afternoon session, we actually took inspiration from something called Korean Home Cafe videos, which is a very popular section of YouTube, just like mukbangs or ASMR or prank videos, in which people replicate complicated recipes that you will find in fancy cafes, such as Starbucks or Tiavana, and basically replicating them at home with cute drink containers and with espresso machines and with sugar and unique ice cubes, etc. And we created a very unique strawberry-inspired container in order to learn about shapes and product fit in Tinkercad. This is the morning session, so this one is typically for students under 13. However, if you're older than 13 or younger than 13, that is not an indication of skill level. It is only for legal reasons. So I see some of the questions that I'm receiving is this the kids section? It's the kids section only that we strictly stick to Tinkercad as the only computer-aided design software that we use for legal reason. It doesn't mean that this is the baby section. No, you're not in the kiddie corner. We'll be doing complicated projects like the over 13 group. But first, we got to get into some basics. So yesterday, we had to figure out what exactly was the Tinkercad software for those who were unfamiliar with it, and for those who had experience, try to, refresh yourself on a couple of things. So a couple of key skills that we learned yesterday was A, that every shape is the addition or subtraction of other shapes, and learning how to manipulate or change those shapes. Today, we're gonna dive a little deeper, but just like I started with yesterday, we're gonna do a quick warm-up. I'm a huge fan that I can't literally just go into work. You got to warm me up first. Just like when I wake up in the morning, I'm not the person who, after well, now it's no longer 5 hours, but 8 hours of sleep, I can't just immediately go into work. I have to do the slow wake up. And I know sometimes when you're seeing stuff on webinar, a lot of you guys have your classes on Zoom right now. It's hard to focus because you're still doing that slow wake up. So right now we're going to do a warm-up activity to get those creative juices flowing and to get you focused for us to do the first part of our major project this week. For those who are wondering, just in case you miss a step or I'm going too fast, if these recordings are going to be that's it and done, no. All of our recordings will be on YouTube if it's not later that afternoon by the next day, to make sure you can replay an episode or a section of this webinar for you to do the projects at home or share with other people. I'm quite sure you guys aren't the only ones looking for something to do during this time, especially involving computer-aided design or CAD software, which is easily accessible through software like Tinkercad. So if you want to be able to replay, refine your skills, go back over a step, or share it or do it with others or your siblings, all these recordings will be on YouTube. So we're going to take a break. For those who already know what the big project is, do not worry. I want you to focus on this warm-up activity we're about to dive into, and let's get started going into Tinkercad. Now, I'm going to let my advanced ones know we are not going to be starting off with the warm-up involving the 3D design part of Tinkercad. So if you've already opened up your dashboard and clicked create and you clicked 3D design, I need you to take a step back and click that upper left-hand icon and go back to your dashboard, because today we're going to actually do our warm-up around circuits. So let's get started. Boom, share my screen. What we do here. Ba-da-da. So you should see in a second my very complicated dashboard that I mentioned earlier. And as I said before, I do apologize. I know I could organize it, but as you've probably seen on your parents' computer, or perhaps even your computer or cell phone, we all have some disorganization. I'm just going to be very transparent about mine. So if you're on the dashboard, go ahead to create new design, but instead of creating a 3D design, I want you to go ahead and click it, and we're going to actually create a circuit. And I think I accidentally pressed the button, so ignore what I just said, but the actual design you want to create is a circuit design. It's that kind of morning. It should look something like this. If you have a question or you just saw the weird thing that just happened to me, go ahead and feel free to give me a question and answer. So those who are just joining us, I'm going to give you a quick review of how this works. So I have to get feedback from you all. This is not a classroom, so I can't tell if you're struggling. I can't tell if you need me to repeat a step until you communicate with me. I disabled the chat feature, so you can't chat with me. You have to submit a question via the Q&A section. It should be on the lower bar of your Zoom webinar. So if you have a question, if I'm moving too fast, if I'm talking too fast, if you're like, hey, there's something behind you, there's too much glare, or something's going on, send me a little heads up on the Q&A. The other part that I need to just let you all keep in mind is that there's going to be times I'm going to ask you to raise your hand. When I ask you to raise your hand, that's what I call a pulse check. It lets me know if I'm moving too fast, moving too slow, or if something's not right, such as my audio or the video connection. I like to make sure you're engaged and making sure I'm keeping you engaged, because what's the point of tinkering together if we're not tinkering together? So there'll be times that I ask you to do that. So just make sure that you're aware to raise your hand or submit a question. And I see a couple of people asking questions about the circuit part. So Tinkercad just did something weird with me. So what I'm going to do is actually backtrack. You'll see me change windows. This was the project we did yesterday. I'm going to click the upper left-hand icon if I was taken mistakenly to 3D design. Sorry, the neighbor's cat is patrolling my office and I'm a little concerned. Oh, that was the mistake I made. I apologize, guys. I only had half a cup of coffee this morning. So click circuits on your left-hand side and then click create new circuit. I'm used to the old Tinkercad that had the drop-down menu that you could select 3D design or circuit. I forgot, it's been updated. So you have to click, I'm gonna go back one more time for those who missed it. On the left-hand side, And this version, if you're used to the old version, I do apologize. On the left-hand side, instead of, you should be here when you normally come to your dashboard, instead of clicking Create New Design, go down on your left-hand side where you see Circuits, click Circuits, and then go up to Create New Circuit. And that will bring you to the Circuits area of Tinkercad. And you should see something like this. And you'll see some components over here that look very, I'm going to take a quote from one of my nephews. They look electrically. So you should see electrically things over here that looks like you can make electrically things. And that's what your dashboard should look like. I'm a stickler, so I like to make sure that I title my stuff correctly. So the way you title your actual circuits in Tinkercad is you click the title in your upper left-hand side. I'm going to title this Mbadika X Tinkercad, Tinker Together, hashtag Tinker Together, because you got to do it for Twitter and the gram. So Tinker Together, and I'm going to say day 02 warm up, because I'm a stickler and I'm going to be being overly technical. You don't have to do that. Name it whatever you want to name it. So now that we're on our clean workspace of the actual Tinkercad circuits, this is going to be our warm-up. So for those who've made electronic circuit before, I want to see those hands up. Let me know if you've made electronic circuit before. And I mean, have you made a simple LED circuit? Have you made anything in that regard? And now I'm seeing some hands go up. And they stay there, and they stay there. Okay, I'm showing my age because I know that song. But okay, I'm going to give you guys a couple more seconds. I want to see. Let me see. Okay, so about half of you all have made a circuit. So this is what's going to be my challenge for you all. If you've made a circuit, because remember, this is a webinar, everyone's coming in with different skill levels. If you've not made a circuit, don't worry. There's going to be 2 tasks right now. If you've made a circuit, I want you to listen carefully. If you made a circuit, what I would like for you to do is I would like for you to use the right-hand toolbar, and I want you to try to recreate that circuit for the next 5 minutes by yourself. What I mean by a circuit, I want you to create a simple LED circuit. No, go, bye cat, no, go. Okay, I'm gonna confess something, slight detour. I am deadly afraid of cats, and I'm also deadly afraid of black cats. And my neighbor's black cat is apparently trying to figure out how to get into my office. And I think it's somewhat succeeded and is now staring me down. So if you see me looking over to the side, it's just I'm making sure this cat knows that we will fight if he comes into my office. But that's a nice side note. Welcome to live webinars. So back to, no. He's outside, by the way, but he's found, he can antagonize me outside there. For those who are advanced, a simple LED circuit is what I want you to create from the stuff on the actual right-hand side. So learning how to drag and drop and challenging yourself to create a simple LED circuit, which should include at least an LED, a power source, and I'm going to challenge you a little bit further. So I also want you to also use a breadboard. So no freewheeling turning the LED on. I want you to use a breadboard is what I would like for you to do. For everyone else, I'm going to show you how to create a simple LED circuit. For those who've made a circuit before and you're a little bit lost on how to do it on Tinkercad, feel free to follow along with me. Sound like a plan? Raise your hands if that's okay. If you don't raise your hand, I'm going to assume that I lost you somewhere and I'm going to need a pivot, which is okay. It's Tuesday morning. Okay, I see a couple of people raise their hands. I'm not a lot of people raise their hands. Okay. So what I'm asking you to raise your hand, if those who already have experience with Tinkercad circuits or creating a simple LED circuit, if they actually will be willing to create a simple LED circuit on their own, which includes an LED, some type of power source, such as a battery, a coin cell battery, 9-volt battery, and a breadboard. Everyone else, or those who have no idea what I just said, we're going to be creating a simple LED circuit together. So don't worry. Now, raise your hand if that made sense. Okay. I think that made way more sense. Okay. And sorry about the cat detour, but I literally am scared of cats, and it's not a good look. So if you've never done electronic circuits before, I actually have a lot of these circuits before me. So never fear, Nisha McCrae is here. That used to be like a saying from an old cartoon from when I was a kid, but you know, things change. So when we talk about electricity, we're talking about turning something on and off, or making something do something or not do something. It's the basis of all electricity or electric circuits. So when we're creating an electric circuit, we have to keep in mind, we're trying to turn something on and off, or trying to get it to do something and then not do something. So those are the main two options we wanted to do. Now we can get more complicated, but that's the core thing of what a circuit does. In order to do that, that means we have to have a power source, AKA the source of electricity that allows for the electric circuit to work. And we need something that's going to turn on and off, something that we're going to control. So we're going to start off with the most basic circuit that you can do, and it's pretty much the intro to all circuit classes. And that's called a simple LED circuit. Now, back when I was in school, LED was kind of a weird word because there weren't a lot of LEDs that existed in the world. So we had no idea what an LED was, and it was almost like witchcraft when we first saw LEDs. Now, not aging myself, LEDs are in everything. You have LEDs embedded in your phone in order for you to take selfies. You have LED lights. You have LED strobe lights. You have performers in Harvard Square and other places around the world with LEDs in their shoes. If you still don't know what I'm talking about, an LED is this bad boy right here. It's basically a light emitting diode is what LED stands for. Personally, an LED is a light. So anytime you think LED, all it means is a light. One of the cool things about LEDs is that you've encountered LEDs in your everyday life if this is the first time you've heard of them. For me, I use LEDs pretty much 2 to 3 times a week because I do a lot of electronics projects. And not because I'm teaching on here, but I create a lot of electronic projects for my clients. So when I'm doing product design and development or engineering for companies, a lot of products that you use every day that has any kind of light being emitted or coming out of it probably uses this bad boy right here, which is an LED. Now, most of the times when you have LEDs, you'll notice that they have these weird legs sticking out of them, if you can see. The legs sticking out of the LEDs serve an actual purpose. That allows for the electricity to come in and out of the LED, which we're about to discover. But one thing I want you to note on the LED is, what do we think we see as the difference between the 2 metal rods coming out of this yellow LED, which emits a yellow light? I want you to tell me in the Q&A section. What do we notice about these legs on the LED? What do we notice? Do the legs look like they're here for a good time? What do we notice about the legs of an LED? And let me know if you can see it clearly. Okay, I see a couple. One is bent, okay, one is longer. Both answers are correct. So when you get an LED, I'm gonna tell you a little hint about nerds. We like to keep things simple, even though it may not seem simple if you're not dealing with it all the time. So one of the stories I heard growing up, and I say growing up, but I mean when I was in college, was that LEDs, if you look carefully, you can see one leg is longer than the other. And it was something that kind of freaked me out when I was in undergrad at MIT. So it's like, why is one leg longer than the other? Why didn't they just make both legs even and just make the legs be twins of each other? And my professor told me it's the only way for other folks to be able to, it's the only way for other engineers to know while they're in the midst of creating those circuit boards we've seen with all those wires jutting out of it, etc., to know what leg is positive and what leg is negative. Think back on the last time you saw a pill battery, like a AA battery or a 9-volt battery. you probably remember seeing a positive and negative end, right? In fact, because we're in Tinkercad, you can actually use the toolbar to pull up a battery. And you can see here a regular AA battery here. We're gonna have to zoom out though, because she's big. But remember back in the day when you actually had, I'm gonna actually use a fancy new tool I just discovered here. Ooh, maybe I didn't do the tool right. You remember that you had like those AA and AAA batteries and there was a positive and there was a negative into the battery? Well, that's because you have positive and negative when you're dealing with electricity. So when we look over at this LED, in Tinkercad, we notice there's a bent leg, right? The bent leg is the anode. Anode means positive. Over here, you have your cathode. Your cathode is negative. So just like you have the negative end of your battery here, and you have your positive end of your battery here, you have to have the same thing for something that's receiving electricity, such as your LED. So your bent leg is positive, and your straight leg is negative. Now, the final thing we need to know before we create our simple circuit is that we have positives and negatives, but how do we know which one connects to which? Well, I'm going to tell you one of my famous quotes on how I remember which leg to actually wire up. So just like in life, you're going to have positive people. Oh, okay, sorry, someone asked a question. In your life, you're going to have positive people and you're going to have negative people. And regardless of how long ago it's been since your first birthday, I think we all can attest that positive people love hanging out with other positive folks, and negative people like to hang out with other negative folks. And rarely do you see positive folks and negative folks hang out with each other and something overly positive or something overly negative happen. And I like to say the same thing happens when you're creating your electric circuit. Positive people with positive folks, negative people with negative folks. Positive electricity lead with a positive leg, negative electricity lead with a negative leg. Another thing we're talking about with power is let's look at this AA battery and let's look at this LED. We have to also be kind of cautious. How much electricity do we want to pump through our LED? So is a AA battery going to be enough to turn on our LED? Do we need to do a coin cell battery or a 3-volt coin cell battery, which is, you've probably seen these things probably in your kitchen drawer. This is a 3-volt coin cell battery that you can use, which is slightly different than your AA battery, which AA battery, you have a positive and negative on each end of the actual battery. When you have a coin cell battery, it's different sides. So one coin cell battery is positive, and then you flip it like a coin, haha, and the other side is negative, this bad boy right here. So maybe a coin cell battery is a better power source to power on our LED. Or last but not least, maybe, just maybe, I'm going to sneak this bad boy right here, a 9-volt battery is sufficient power to turn on our LED. I'm going to go ahead and say we're only going to try the pill battery and the coin cell battery because I think we can all agree this is probably doing too much. So first, let's try to connect our LED to our AA battery. And remember what I said, positive to positive and negative to negative. If you're wondering, well, Ms. Nisha, you didn't actually show us how to connect the positive leg of the LED to the positive lead or output of the actual battery. Don't fear, about to show you in a minute. If you already have created an LED circuit before in your life and you've already created your simple LED, this will be a great time to actually add a control. A control can be a push button or a mini switch to your LED circuit while we're still going over the simple LED circuit. So for those who are further ahead and ask me the next step, go ahead and add a control, which can be either a push button or a switch in order to control your simple LED circuit. And we'll be there shortly. For everyone else, I want you to look right here. So here you can see when you highlight that red little lead coming out of the battery, it says positive. So it already does the hard work for you to make sure you know the red is positive and the black is negative. In order to connect positive to positive and negative to negative, we're going to click on this part here and then create a lead or a wire connection to the positive leg of our LED. Now, one of the cool things about Tinkercad is that I can actually change the color of that wire or that connection I just made. And the actual connection I just made, I'm going to change to red. So instead of having to squint into the camera or squint onto my computer screen and see that that's the positive leg because it's bent, or the one coming out of the battery pack is red, I can just see the wire is red, so I know that's a positive wire. And I'm going to do the same thing from the negative leg of the LED to the negative lead coming out of my battery. And I'm going to change that wire color to black. So now I see I have a circuit. Now, one of the cool things about Tinkercad Circuits is that you can actually simulate or make it look like that your actual circuit does in real life. So in order to do that, we're going to start a simulation. And we can start a simulation by clicking the Start Simulation button on the upper right-hand corner. And if we look very carefully, we can see a very dim light right here. When we stop simulation, we'll notice that the LED returns to normal. If you feel like the red LED that you have as your default isn't bright enough, another tip with Tinkercad Circuits is when you click the actual LED, you can change the color. So here, I can change the color to yellow and start simulation. And you see how it's a little easier to see that the actual LED turned on? That's a little tip or trick for if you're having a little bit of difficulty seeing your LED turn on. The reason why you have so many LED circuit choices is so you can actually replicate what it would look like in real life when you decide to go ahead and build this. So hopefully everyone has had their simple LED circuit turn on. If you haven't, that's okay. But with a show of hands, let me know who was able to get their LED circuit to turn on. If you weren't able to get your LED circuit to turn on, now is the time to ask me any questions in regards to the actual circuit. And trust me, just so you know, I know there was a hiccup in that one question leaked out onto the public chat, but I make sure almost all questions, unless it's one that applies to everyone, are private. So how do you get the wire is one question. So I'm going to redo that part. So if we zoom in, the wire you don't have to drag from your actual right-hand toolbar. So let me delete, and you can delete the wire by selecting it with your mouse and pressing the delete key on your actual keyboard. So we're going to do the wire part again. So you would typically think when you're getting a wire in Tinkercad, if you're familiar with using Tinkercad Circuits, you would think you'll have to drag it from here. You don't. What you need to do is zoom in here, and you see how that red square, if it's familiar to you from Tinkercad 3D Designs, or if this is your first time, no worries, you're looking for that red square. What that red square does is lets you know you can click this spot. That means this is where you can start connecting your wire. And your wire then goes to the next red square, which is the connection spot on your LED, like such. So just right then and there, I connected my red or positive of the battery to the positive of my LED. That's that little bent leg. And so here, I'm going to change the color. Now this toolbox here should pop up anytime you're using the wire feature, which is whenever you select that red box that pops up at a clickable point. And don't worry, we're going to do a couple more of these before we add our control as the other group is doing. I'm going to do it again here, and watch the spotlight. I'm clicking the red box on the battery, which is the negative lead, and I'm bringing it up to the negative leg of my LED, which is another red box that popped up. I'm going to change the color so it's easier for me to see. And ta-da! I made the connection. Now I'm going to start simulation. And you can see that faint yellow light come on. But it seems kind of dim. So let's see what we can do if we change up the power source for our simple LED circuit. But what I want you to do before we move on is just go ahead and pat yourself on the back. It could be corny because you're seeing me do it, but no one else is going to see you do it. But for real, pat yourself on the back. You actually made your first simple LED circuit. So now we're going to kick it up a notch. So stop your simulation. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And I'm going to try using a coin cell battery. So some of you may be familiar with coin cell batteries, but they operate pretty much in the same manner as your AA or your AAA batteries. We're going to try to create the same simple LED circuit. Now, I could actually take the LED from here and move it over here, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna go over here to my toolbar and I'm gonna pull over another LED. So here, I'm gonna pull over another one. My favorite color is blue, if you've not been able to tell. And so I'm gonna change the color of my LED to blue. Cause blue, da-da-dee-da-da-da. Yeah, sorry, that's also dating myself. Now, one of the things with the coin cell battery, which is different from the AA battery, is that the AA battery has its 2 leads at the top, right? So the 2 leads are easy for the LED to reach because they're like this here. The problem with the coin cell battery is that the leads are like this. Trying to do it like this. So what we need to do is rotate our coin cell battery to make it easier for them to connect to our LED that's at the top. So this is a great trick. If you haven't already discovered this, you're gonna select the object that you wanna go from here and rotate. So we just selected our coin cell battery. I'm gonna go over to the upper left side, the left side. Is it the west side or the east side? That song by Halsey. Besides that point, you're gonna go to the upper left-hand corner and you're gonna see the rotate actual button. You're gonna rotate your actual coin cell until it goes from here to here. And now you see that you have your leads in such a way that you can easily connect it to your LED, just like we did with your actual AA battery. So I'm gonna move the coin cell battery up just a little bit, and remember, positive with positive and negative with negative. So we're gonna do the wire connection one more time. Connect the positive lead from your coin cell battery to the positive leg of your LED or the anode, because we're gonna learn some vocabulary today. And I'm gonna change that color to red. Next up, I'm gonna take the negative lead from my coin cell battery and connect it to the negative or the cathode of my LED. And now I'm gonna change the color to black so I don't have to keep like moving into the computer screen to see. And now we're gonna do the ultimate test and see. And whoa, if you saw me do the start simulation, you notice the LED that I'm using here is shining way brighter than the actual LED here. So what do we notice may be the difference between the LED setup here, or the simple LED circuit here, and the simple LED circuit here? Go ahead and let me know via the questions and answers. Ooh, I see a couple of people notice something. What is the difference between the LED that we connected to a AA battery and the LED that we connected to a coin cell battery? What do we notice as the difference? Go ahead and let me know in the Q&A part. Let me get a couple of more before we have a discussion. Meanwhile, I also want to make sure that if you haven't already told me what's the problem or what your actual thought is the problem, go ahead and make sure you raise your hand so I can know that you were able to either get this LED circuit started or have made this one as well. I'm going to give you a hint at a possible explanation. Maybe look at what's on this battery or power source and what's on this battery or power source. In addition, another hint is, what is that symbol there and why does that symbol not appear here? So I want to give you guys a couple more seconds as I'm waiting for people to raise their hand to let me know they have a simple LED circuit working. And also your theories on why exactly is one LED brighter than the other. Okay, if you haven't been able to get your LED circuit working, simply ask me questions. This is the time to ask me questions. Okay, perfect. So we're gonna take one step back and I'm gonna show you why the coin cell battery powered LED circuit is brighter or shining brighter than the actual AA battery. So taking it a step back, some people have the guess that it was because of the LED color. So I'm gonna stop the simulation and I'm gonna go over to my LED and I'm gonna change the color to yellow, right? I'm gonna click off and start simulation. So now we have both simple LED circuits, one powered by a AA battery, the other powered by a coin cell battery, and with the same LED. And you can tell that the one powered by the AA battery is duller than the one powered by the coin cell battery? Another guess is that maybe the coin cell battery is using too much power and therefore it's almost exploding the LED versus the AA battery, which is only giving a little bit of power to barely turn on the LED. So let's look over here to what this warning sign says. So let's see if we can get the text a little bigger. Okay, we can't get the text bigger, but I'm gonna read this out loud just in case you don't have this circuit yet. I'm gonna redo the circuit, but I just want you to follow along with us for right now. It says, current through the LED is 61.9 milliamps, while recommended maximum is 20 milliamps. The usable lifetime LED may be reduced. Okay, I'm gonna explain that. So pretty much you have current, or the actual electricity flowing through the LED is measured in amps or milliamps, which is similar to like millimeters, right? So if we're doing measurements, milliamps is 1/1000th of an amp. If they're saying the recommended usage level is 20 milliamps and the actual current or electricity flowing through the LED is 61.9 milliamps, we're gonna have to do some quick math, right? So here, we have 61.9 milliamps is what's actually going through versus 20 milliamps, right? So that's almost, let me do some quick math here, divided by 20 milliamps. I got my trusty calculator. So, oops, sorry, here I go again. Humming copyright theme songs. That's 3.095 times, or that's 309.5% more is pumping through our circuit than is recommended. If you want context, that's like your doctor saying, I don't want you exercising more than 30 minutes a day and you're exercising for an hour and a half. Yes, are you gonna like suffer any short-term health issues? You may be sore or what have you, but your lifelong health issues are only going to get worse because you're doing that to yourself. And so that's pretty much what's happening here. So basically what they're saying is that, yes, the LED will shine very, very bright, but it's only gonna shine very, very bright for a short period of time. So we need to figure out what to do in order to not have this coin cell battery simple LED circuit explode on us. So we need to build up the resistance. We need to figure out something to resist the current that is flowing through the LED. I want you to figure out what could we find in the right-hand toolbar to resist the electric current going through our LED right now. I want you to pick up that item from the right toolbar and bring it over to your work plane. And just to make sure that I keep it easy and I keep it fresh over here, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start from scratch and recreate my simple LED circuit for you all as well. Hopefully that will be helpful. So what I'm gonna do while you're picking out something that can resist the electric current going through the LED, something that, what would you call a person that resists? It's a resistor, a resistance, a resistor. I think a resistor, right? So maybe find something that's a resistor and the right-hand toolbar. Hint, hint, nod, nod. I'm gonna go ahead and just clear off my circuit and just make it from scratch because I noticed there was a couple questions regarding how to actually rotate the battery. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that from scratch so I can show you all. So if you already have your resistor onto your work plane, cool. I'm gonna show you how to actually have that in your simple LED circuit. For those who already are ahead, I hope you already have your controls. The last thing I need you to do is add a resistor to your circuit. And you should be pretty much at the home stretch in terms of our warm up. For everybody else, I'm gonna go ahead and pull our coin cell battery like before. I'm gonna go ahead and pull an LED and I'm gonna bring it back to my favorite color, which is blue. You're gonna hear that a lot because I really, really, really love the color blue, especially when it's paired with a yellow and a gray. Ugh, it's favorite. What were we supposed to get from the toolbar again, the right side? Oh, this bad boy right here, a resistor. So a resistor is supposed to help us resist the electric current that is coming from the actual battery and flowing through the LED. And that would allow for us to lower the actual current from 61.9 milliamps to something that is closer to 20 milliamps. So in order to rotate our coin cell battery, here's a tip. Click the actual coin cell battery, go to your upper left side, and you're gonna see the rotate button. Rotate a few times until it gets to the point that you feel like it's great for you to wire up. As we mentioned before, positive is with positive and negative is with negative. So the way we would wire before is click that red square when it pops up and connect it to the red square on your LED. Change the color of your LED to red to indicate it's the positive lead, and then go from negative to negative and connect it to the negative lead of your LED. So negative with negative and positive with positive. Let's do the start simulation to make sure we wired it correctly, and boom, and we still have the same warning sign. So let's remedy that warning sign. So let's stop simulation, and we're gonna delete this leg right here. So when you hear electric circuit, you may have heard of circuits as a term for loops that people do in NASCAR or Formula One. So when you have a circuit, you have to think of it as a loop, that wherever you start, you should be able to end at the exact same spot. So when we look at our circuits here with the AA battery, if we start at the positive and we hit the positive leg of the LED, we go through the LED, we exit through the negative leg of the LED and come back to our power source via the negative lead here, which makes almost a loop. If you want to be more drastic about it, you can call it the circle of life, but the circle of circuits is what I like to refer to it as. So we want to create a circuit or a complete loop when we're creating one. So if we need to add our resistor into the circuit, then one way we can add our resistor is just including it into our circle or loop. So positive, let's see, I mean, what is the positive leg of our resistor, right? Is it that end or is it that end? Well, this is kind of the part where I'm gonna say, let's just experiment and see what happens. So let's connect to this end, and we're just gonna make it a neutral color, because no, we can just make it red, right? I mean, that is the positive leg out of the battery, right? And maybe connect this to the positive leg of the LED, because this still is coming out of the red or the positive side, right? Let's just see what happens. As you can see here, if we start at the LED and we go through the LED, it exits out to the negative leg of the LED, goes to the negative side of the coin cell battery, goes through the coin cell battery, out the positive end, through the resistor, and back to the positive leg of the LED. Once we know we can create a circuit or a loop of a electric circuit, let's go ahead and see if we wired it correctly and our guess around how to ride the resistor, how to route the resistor. See, this is when I get tongue-tied. My apologies. Actually works out. So let's start simulation. And what just happened there? Hold on, let's press stop. And you notice how solid the color here is and the solid the color here is. So let's check one more time. So we notice that the LED did turn on, but did it turn on as bright? Let me know if you're seeing the same thing on your end by raising your hand. Okay, I see a couple of people who said they did it. Okay, I see a couple of people who said they did it. If you finish your breadboard circuit, I want you to hold tight, and I would like you to add 2 more LEDs to your breadboard circuit if you're already further ahead. And I want you to make sure that you wire those LEDs not in the positive or negative rails of your breadboard, but in the no man's land, I like to call it, of your breadboard. So while everyone else is making sure they got to the simulation, for those who are more advanced, this is your breadboard, right? Do not put your LEDs in the positive and negative rails of your breadboard. That's easy peasy, and you're supposed to be challenging yourself and warming up those creative juices. I want you to challenge yourself and wire your LEDs in the no man's land, I like to call it. So 3 LEDs controlled by a push button or a switch in this area of your breadboard. And I only want you to use a maximum of 1 AA battery or 1 coin cell battery. So no trying to trick it and creating 3 circuits on your breadboard. Yes, I know. For everyone else who's building along with me, raise your hand to let me know if you were able to get your circuit straight. So I want to make sure everyone has been able to have their win for the morning when it comes to this LED circuit. I see some people. If you're not seeing that little dim light, don't worry. That's what the question and answer section's for. So go ahead and just ask away. And remember, if you're still seeing a warning and your resistor is in the circuit like this, then something's not right. And that I can actually help you with in the Q&A section. So we're going to take a quick 1 to 2 minutes to make sure everyone's on the same page. Raise your hand even if you're doing the most advanced circuit, just so I can keep track of everyone has made it at least to this step here. Da, 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 da. Oh, sorry, the chat function's acting a little buggy. I was trying to ask, please raise your hand if your circuit's working. I see a couple people who aren't raising their hand. I don't know if you guys have already sped ahead, you're not able to raise your hand, etc. But I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes. Please ask questions. I'm this person about, this is us tinkering together. This is not me yelling at you or just yelling commands or instructions. This is us working together to make sure we're all going to be enjoying this experience. Okay, some people have all of theirs working, okay, and you have it with 1, perfect. So we have some people who are already ahead and they got their LEDs working. Do you have yours working with the control? Remember, I want it working with a push button or a slide switch if you're doing the more advanced circuit. For everyone else who's doing the circuit with me, we have one more thing to do before we wrap up our work for today. This was a very mental form, but one more thing you heard me hinting at earlier. So all electronic circuits or electric circuits are supposed to be able to allow you to turn something on and off, right? They're supposed to allow you to control something. So the first thing we always need in our circuits is we need a power source, which we just went through. We just had our power source. We've tried 2 circuits as a power source. The first circuit was a pill battery, is what we call this, which is your AA's and your AAA batteries. The second power source we had was your coin cell batteries, which are your coin cell batteries as such right here. We created a circuit using that. And both circuits turn something on and off. The thing they turn on and off was our respective LEDs. We even took it a step further and we found out that sometimes our power sources can be a little too powerful for the things we're trying to turn on and off, like our LEDs. And when our actual circuit has a power source that's too powerful, we can introduce something called a resistor, which resists the current, which is a term for the electricity flowing through our circuit, in order to allow it to not blow up or have too much flow through the thing we're turning on, such as an LED in this instant. Now, the last thing we need to do in order to have our circuit complete is how do we control our circuit? Everything that uses electricity has control more or less. Whether it's a solar panel that only comes on at night that may be in your front lawn, whether it's street lights that have a control that only turn on when it hits dusk, or you have a switch in your house that turns the lights on and off, or even your cell phone when you turn the on button on. That's a control. There are numerous types of control. There are the really fancy ones that I absolutely adore and nerd out over, which are push buttons that allow for you to push and feel like you're like unleashing some strategic weapon and like a super villain movie. Or there could be switches that allow for you to very casually or easily turn on a toy to much delight. Today, we're going to go ahead and briefly go over push buttons, and later this week, we're going to go over a mini switch. So push buttons are what I like to call the entry level into your controls. So the first thing we need to do, remember how we said that when you're doing electric circuits, when you're like creating a circuit, it almost has to be like a loop or the circle of life, which means if we're going to add anything else to our actual LED circuit here, we're going to need to open up a part of it to actually allow for that to happen. And the part we're going to open up, or the part that I prefer to open up, is the positive side, because it's easier for me to think of it going this way in terms of my circuit. So to get started, we're going to delete this leg here. I'm actually going to move this over, and as you can tell, the wires naturally extend. That doesn't happen in real life, so you have to be careful when you're moving wires. They don't stretch out like putty, so that's a side note. And here, I'm gonna add a control to my actual circuit. Now, I just said controls can be push buttons or they can be switches. If I look over here to my basic toolbar for my electronic components, I'll see I have a push button, and I also have a slide switch. What I want to actually do is use my push button for today. So I'm going to have my push button come here. Now, this push button can be kind of daunting, right? Because the push button has 4 legs on it. I'm not even kidding you. Like if you click here and you click your fitted screen key and you zoom in a little bit, you'll notice there's 4 legs, 4 on this push button. So how can you possibly figure out which one can connect to here and which one to connect to here? Well, there's a trick. The push button doesn't necessarily mean you need to connect all the legs to all of the legs here and here. For example, you don't need to do this and then do this and then do this to the top and then do this one to the top as well, right? You don't need to do that. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. Give me 1 sec. I'm going to press my fitted screen and start my simulation and going to go. Do we notice my LED turning on and off? Do we? No. We notice that it's just staying on. The reason why it's staying on is I'm pretty much treating this like it's a wire. So this push button is acting like this here. It's just allowing electricity from my battery to flow straight through it. That's because of the way I wired it. Here's a hint with push buttons. You don't need to wire crazy. Don't feel tempted to connect everything. We can delete this wire here. Delete. And then delete. We can actually connect our push button pins diagonally. So here, I'm going to change this just like I did before to red. So I know the actual current coming out of here is positive. And I don't have to, like I said, squint into the computer screen to see. And let's try that again. So if you look over at my LED with this configuration, it's not turned on. But when I press the push button, voila, it turns on. So let me see everybody do the same thing with a push button and raise your hand when you're done doing so. Okay, I see a couple people. Wow, that was quick. You guys must have been following along with me. Okay. And just raise your hand so I know when you have this part working. If you're doing the more advanced circuit, no worries. This was probably a very easy, just exploration project for you. So I'm actually going to challenge you with one final thing. I want you to change your battery source. If you're using the breadboard, if you're creating the breadboard version of this, I want you to change your power source to a 9-volt battery. And I want you to figure out, playing around with your resistor, and you'll see in a moment what I mean by that, playing around with your resistor so it doesn't explode the LEDs on your actual breadboard. So change your power source to a 9-volt battery and change your resistor so that you can actually make sure that the LED doesn't explode. If you're unfamiliar with that, this is again for the people doing the advanced project. Click the LED, oh, not the LED. Now I'm getting tongue-tied. Click the resistor. You'll notice right below where you can name the resistor, you can see something that's the resistance. That's the amount of resistance the resistor is putting on the actual current flowing through it before it gets to the LED. You can change this value to whatever value you see fit and keep experimenting until you get a value that actually makes sure that LED doesn't explode. So that's for the folks doing the advanced version on the breadboard. For everybody else, I want to see your hands raised. Once you're able to get this actual push button circuit working. If you're not able to, this is the time to ask questions. Okay, some people's theirs just turns off. Let me know if it turns on and off in the Q&A section, because it's supposed to, when you press start simulation, you're supposed to be able, without pressing it, it's supposed to be off. Now, sometimes your configuration could be backwards, and that's okay. All we're trying to introduce to you today is that being able to press the button turns it on. For those doing the more advanced project, you see how my resistor color changes when I change the value of the resistor? That's what you want to see. And you see how when I changed it from 1 ohm, this symbol is called ohm. When I change it from 1 ohm and I press, it explodes the LED. But when I increase the amount of resistance to counteract that explosion because of a higher current, and I press the push button, it's ohm. It's a little lower. But I want to see hands raised or questions if you're not able to get your circuit turning on. Okay, when you press the button, it should turn on and off. Perfect. Anybody else? I don't see all hands raised. Now I can see who's following me on the circuit. If you're doing the advanced breadboard circuit, you can also throw a hand wave just so I know if I can move on. Okay, perfect. I'm going to lower all hands. So now that we've done our warm-up and everyone's like, oh my God, that was just the warm-up? My word, this is a warm-up. This is just to introduce you to a very quick review of how you can get started with Tinkercad Circuits with a brief Circuits 101. We're going to be reviewing circuits again later on this week, and we're going to start doing more advanced circuits using Tinkercad Circuits. So this was to get your brain and your juices flowing and you learning new terms and get your creativity on high for the next part of today's webinar. So what I would like you all to do is click the upper left-hand corner at the Tinkercad logo to go back to your dashboard and say so long, farewell to your circuit. And we're gonna go on the left-hand side and go back up to 3D designs. And we're gonna go and create a new design. I already have my design up, so I'm just gonna switch windows, but you can go ahead and go to create new design. And you should have your work plane that looks like this here, because now we're gonna switch to creating an actual 3D model. But first, I know we just did a lot in terms of Tinkercad Circuits, so we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be back here at 12:10, blah, 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 blah. We're gonna do a 5-minute break. Let's just do it that way. So we'll be back here in about 5 minutes. So if you're on the East Coast, that's gonna be at 12:13. If you're on the West Coast, it's gonna be at 9:13. So I'll see you guys soon. I'm just gonna play some mood music as we take a quick break. So go ahead, get yourself together. If you already don't have it, grab a pen or a writing utensil, paper, and some inspiration of what materials are available for you to create or build an oasis in your place. If that topic is confusing, no worries. The next couple minutes, we're gonna provide a little bit more clarity on what that means. So go ahead, get some water, go and do what you have to do, reset your mind, and get ready to push yourself further for this morning session. Ah, see, again, I'm making all the mistakes. We got still about 2.5 minutes left, so just go ahead and decompress. Just feel the vibes and get your stuff straight because we're about to go into the next part. You guys have about 45 more seconds. Okay, so you guys should slowly should be coming back. You should be coming back to your computers and looking at your Tinkercad dashboard for us to do some CAD modeling. So that is what we have waiting before us. So that is what we're going to be doing. So slowly come back, do your last snack run, get your drink of water, do whatever you need to do. And we're going to do this one slow and steady as we're just starting to brainstorm and plan what we want our perfect oasis to look like. If you have any last minute questions in regards to the last part, in regards to the Tinkercad circuits, etc., feel free to let me know. But we're about to shift gears into our major project for this week. So 1 second. Okay, I get it. So raise your hand if you're ready to start the next section. I know we did a lot for the warm up, so just let me know if you're ready to start the next section by raising your hand. I don't know if it's your right hand or your left hand, but just raise a hand for me. And we're gonna get us back on the roll. You're gonna pop this bad boy up. Okay, let's see. Okay, we have a couple of people. Oh, okay. We got most hands raised now. Okay, so we just finished doing our warm-up and we're about to get into our project of this week. So for those who are just joining us for today, or for those who are like, okay, Miss Nisha keeps talking about this perfect oasis or this retreat in our home. What exactly is she talking about? And so I'm gonna play a little video, excuse me, that is a perfect example of what I mean by in these times when we're all staying at home, what does the perfect oasis or a place for you to retreat into and enjoy a good book or catch up on your favorite TV show, or maybe just play around and just unleash your imagination? What would that perfect place, if you could build it inside of your home, what would it look like? And one of the things that comes to mind for me is that I've been making pillow forts since I was 5. And yes, I'm no longer 5, but sometimes when you're in a house full of people, regardless of whether you love them to pieces, people still need to have their private space and still need to have that moment to themselves. And so what we're going to do for our major project is we're going to use Tinkercad in order to create a layout of what our perfect oasis would look like and how we can actually create a blueprint or a plan to actually make our oasis come to life using things that we can easily find around our house. We're going to do this in several ways. The first way we're going to do it is just like architects would, is we're going to use pen and paper or any other writing utensil you may have on deck and be able to sketch out what do we think of when we think of the perfect oasis or the perfect pillow fort or something of that nature that we can make within our home. What things do we want to have included? Do we want to have twinkle lights? Do we want to make sure that there's like a cup holder so we can have a warm beverage inside of our perfect oasis? Do we need to have lighting that allows for us to read? Or do we want to have warm lighting like yellow lights to make it almost look magical? Do we want to have our favorite stuffed animals in there? There's no shame. I still have my stuffed animals. Maybe you want to have a reading corner that has a holder for all your comic books or your books. Or maybe you want to have a tablet holder so you're not holding your phone or your tablet while you're watching your favorite show. You're able to actually sit back and enjoy. And that gets to the last part, which is comfort. Do we want pillows? Do we want thick comforter on top? Do we want a sheet on top to allow for airflow? All of these things are design things that we have to come up with. And we're going to be going through the design process architects use when they come up with processes as we're coming up with our perfect oasis. But before I get ahead of myself and before we all go like, what are we doing? I want to play a quick video for you. So this video is a commercial by Lego, which is hopefully trying to inspire its customers to be more creative and think outside the box. But I want you to get a feel for the vibe of this commercial because this is what we're going to be aiming for when we're designing our perfect oasis. So let me go ahead and switch. And I want you guys to let me know if you can hear, and I'm going to start playing it. One sec. Raise your hand if you can hear.
I don't always want you to help me. Do you know why? I want to figure it out on my own. Even when it doesn't turn out the way I want. I know it's not wrong. Because you taught me how to think. And how to dream. I'm about to make something that I know will make you proud.
So I know it's a very emotional commercial, depending on your background. For me, it brings a little bit of a tear in my eye because it reminds me of when I got my first Lego kit. And yes, I was that kid, and I'm going to be dating myself. You all probably grew up with your first Jurassic Park movie being Jurassic World. My first Jurassic Park movie was Jurassic Park. So just add those decades together. And I remember my first Lego kit was a Jurassic Park Lego kit. and I didn't know how to build with Lego. My parents didn't know how to build with Lego. So it was us with about a 4,000 piece set, all green and dark green pieces, because it was the T-Rex Jurassic Park set, which was the most highly sought after Lego set at the time. And I remember that after 2 weeks of trying to follow the instructions and trying to figure out how to build this T-Rex, and I was frustrated, my dad was frustrated, my mom was tired of stepping on Lego bricks throughout the house and yelling in pain. I was tired of stepping on Lego bricks throughout the house and yelling in pain. Basically, my mom gave me a container. It was a bigger container than my Lego container here, which is for my inspiration pieces. And she basically was like, you know what, just build whatever you want to build with these pieces. You no longer have to try to create this T-Rex. And being able to just build whatever I wanted was such an amazing feeling. And it's one of those moments that I feel led me down the path that I'm on now. Another thing, like I mentioned about the pillow fort, was that I would always like to build my Lego creations in privacy. So I would always create, as you saw the girl in the commercial, she had this expansive pillow fort that she made with blankets and sheets and with chairs in order to make tunnels and almost a puppet show at the end. I would always make those kind of creations because I wanted to hide my creations from my parents and from my siblings or my sisters, because I didn't want them judging me. And so when I think of a perfect oasis, I think of the pillow forts I used to build as a kid and the adult version with me learning some engineering skills, so they're a little bit more expansive, that I do now in order to have my little perfect oasis so I can be with my thoughts and my feelings and just create and build. And that's the thought and mindset that I want you all to come into this with. So when we start planning what's going to be our perfect oasis, the first thing we always do is we try to look at a piece of paper and we try to sketch out exactly what we want that to look like. So for those who aren't familiar, this is called a simple brainstorm. This is us taking our ideas that are in our head and putting them on paper. So I'm going to give you all 7 minutes. And in those 7 minutes, I want you to brainstorm and I want you to sketch and draw and write out what is the perfect oasis that you would like to build. Pretend you're able to take over your living room. How would you like your perfect oasis in your living room to look like? What materials do you want in there? Do you want the TV? Do you want to have a radio? I know I just dated myself, but you know, a music player or your cell phone. Do you need charging cables? Are you gonna make it with chairs? I want you to sketch out what is your ideal vision for what this perfect oasis will look like. And I want you to do that in the next 7 minutes. So go ahead and do that now. And I'm gonna see if I can play this commercial in silence just to give you some inspiration behind it. So for those who are unfamiliar, oasis is just a term for a private getaway or a private spot. So people typically use the term oasis for when they're like, oh, I'm on an island and I'm having my perfect oasis or getaway. It's just a private area that you can retreat into. So a pillow fort would be an example of this. Sometimes people have closets that they change into like a private room. If you're talking about like more expansive and larger spaces, a private oasis can also be like a man cave. So it can actually be something that people create in order to have as their own private space. It could even already be your bedroom. So don't be thrown off or scared by the term oasis. All it means is your private getaway or your private area for you to enjoy yourself and be able to do stuff that you like to do in peace and quiet. So while you're brainstorming, that's all I want you to be thinking about. And I heard somebody in the questions were like, oh, I love Lego and the Lego elves and they were discontinued. I was wondering what happened to that collection because I went in, I think a couple of weeks ago, and I was looking for Lego elves and I saw Lego friends and I was like, okay, that's cool. But I'm looking for elves for a family member of mine. And I was like, oh, maybe the store just doesn't carry them. So I didn't know they were discontinued. So thank you for that. If you have any other questions while you're brainstorming or sketching, I'm here as a resource for you. So feel free to ask me. If you have any other questions while you're brainstorming, you have about another 4 minutes left. And also, all these Lego commercials I'm showing you is kind of a hint at the part 2 of this project, just so you know. Some people who are already familiar know where this project is going, but yes, we'll be incorporating Lego into this project. So, hint, hint. So give you guys about 1 more minute left on the clock. So finish up your sketch. I want your sketch. It's not for me personally because I'm not going to be seeing your sketch, but make sure your sketch is detailed enough that you know what you sketched. So for example, if you drew a chair that you're going to be using to create your Perfect Oasis, make sure if you don't know that's going to be a chair in a couple of days, that you write down chair so we know that it's a chair. If you use a particular blanket or comforter as like your overlay or your top, why can I not talk? If you use a particular sheet or a comforter as the thing that goes on top of your actual pillow fort, oasis, setup, display, whatever you want to call it, then you need to write that down to make sure you remember what it was when we revisit this later this week, because we're going to be working on this throughout the week. So just keep that in mind. But give you guys a couple more seconds to wrap that up. If you have any last minute questions, let me know. Because I want you to have your sketch ready, because this is going to be the blueprint that you may have heard. Well, blueprint, the term you've probably heard in a lot of construction, which is basically the plan on how we're going to design and bring your idea to life using Tinkercad. So go ahead, finish up that sketch for me, and we'll be able to get started. Also, I'm trying to figure out a way to have my engineer Barbie to actually be in display, but finding out Zoom is not allowing me to do that. So pretty much he says hi. But yes, this is actually the basis So side note, since a couple people asked for a couple more seconds, I'm going to give them some seconds. So pretty much anytime I'm trying to create how I want to redesign a part of my house or apartment, I actually, and this is true, I've done this for almost 10 years now since I've been in my first apartment, I use my Barbie doll as an example of me. She looks pretty close to me. I use her as an example. And just like we did yesterday with taking measurements and figuring out like how we want to design, I use her as a basis for all of my designs. And I actually CAD up or use computer-aided design software like Tinkercad in order to actually do the layout of my apartment, and using her as an example to see if Nisha in Barbie form can actually move around comfortably and actually likes the setup of that actual apartment layout I just CAD'd up before I actually start rearranging the furniture in my apartment or buying paintings or buying new things. Just because if she doesn't look good in it in my computer aided design model, then I know I'm not going to look good in it because, you know, it's Barbie. So I think we have given everybody a couple more seconds, and I've shown that yes, I do own a Barbie collection. I've been a Barbie collector for the past 21 years, since I was 8 years old and got my first collector's Barbie. So I do have all the STEM Barbies that I'm aware of. It was a part of my collection, and I have Christy. All the versions that include Christy in my collection. That's a random tidbit for those who are actually Barbie fans, but we shall see. Yes, if you love the CAD model of your Perfect Oasis, one part of this project is to actually get bonus points and make your own version at home with stuff available in your home. The reason why I kept hinting to make sure you're aware of materials that are available at your home or your place is because one part of the project for bonus points is to actually try to use your Tinkercad model as the blueprint for creating your Perfect Oasis in real life. But I'm giving away too much stuff. But okay, so we're ready. Raise your hand if you're ready, and this is a good part to stop with your sketch so we can get started. I see them hands being raised. Sorry, can you tell how excited I am for this? I would say that a lot of folks were like, making a pillow for it is kind of one of those things you do and you're finished with. But I think making a pillow for it using computer-aided design software, especially Tinkercad, with the collection that I'm about to show you that exists in Tinkercad is a whole different thing. And so I'm excited to do this with you all because I did a test run of this a couple days ago, and I don't know why I was so hyped for it, but hopefully you're just as excited, especially for the other parts tied to this project. So, took my swig of water, let's get started. So my house is a little bit weird because it's pretty much a condo, so it has 3 floors, but not all the floors are mine. So my space is kind of like a cute little rectangular box, so I don't have to deal with weird shapes. I know depending on where you live in the country or the world, you may be dealing with staircases that may be in the middle of your floor plan. Your room may have like a roof that is like a sharp diagonal. So you're gonna have to throw in some different design critiques or characteristics versus me. But the first thing is vocab word. Whenever architects or engineers are designing something, they're designing something based on design parameters. So design parameters are the actual things that we're measuring our design up against. And what that means is, if you're making a pizza, right? When we're judging what's the best pizza in the world, and no, please don't flood my Q&A with New York got the best pizza. No, Chicago deep dish is the best pizza. I'm not that hardcore. This is not the forum to like air out grievances over what's the best pizza. But honestly, Chicago deep dish is the best pizza. So we can fight later about that. But when you're judging what's the best pizza, some criteria you may use or some ways you will judge what's the best pizza is the sauce, the toppings, the crust. The thickness of the crust would be one characteristic. Are people also like to judge about the foldability. Like, are you able to take the pizza and fold it in half and then take a bite? Those are characteristics that we use to judge whether or not something is a good slice of pizza. And the reason those characteristics are important is because it allows us to fairly compare one pizza to another. Because if we just said Chicago deep dish is the best because it's from the city of Chicago, well, we can't really compare a pizza from New York to a pizza from Chicago by basically just saying the only reason why Chicago deep dish is good is because it's from the city of Chicago. Well, that means no other pizza has the possibility of being good. Same thing happens in design. The way we can make sure our design is actually the best design possible to satisfy our needs is that we add design parameters to it, or the characteristics we're going to judge our design based on. So like I said with pizza, it will typically be the sauce, the toppings. Some people want to add cheese, but I'm not going to add that. I'm going to say the crust. Those are the three things we can judge a pizza to see if it's the best pizza. What would be some design parameters for if our perfect oasis is the perfect oasis in our home? I, for example, said comfort. If it's not comfortable, I'm not going to stay in it. I think my perfect oasis or my pillow fort or my retreat in my house has to be comfortable, which means I have to be comfortable sitting there or laying in there for more than 3 hours. If it can't last a movie, it's not comfortable. I don't want to build it. It's not the greatest design. So in the Q&A section, I want you guys to hit me up with some design parameters or some guidelines or things you feel are a must if your design is the best design for your perfect oasis. So go ahead and send that to me in the Q&A part. And I'm going to go ahead and add, oops, that was on accident. I am already going to add comfort. Let's see what else you all add. Okay, some people said, so you don't have to build a house. It can literally be a perfect oasis. So I'm going to answer this question live. So someone just asked, well, what happens if my house is too small? Don't worry about it. You are actually staring at 1/4 of my apartment right now. Like this wall here is 1/4 of my apartment. So trust me, I get it. I would say your perfect oasis could be your bed. You could actually use various things in your home to create your perfect oasis using the parameter or the actual footage on your bed. So you can actually set up a tent on your bed or right next to your bed. It can even just be a chair and a desk. It doesn't have to expand the whole room. I just want you to use what is available to you. I see someone else has commented in terms of possible things that my perfect oasis has to have is calm colors. I agree. So I'm going to say calm colors as an example of it has to be calming. So let's go ahead and add that on there. Let's see what else some people have said. Ooh, video games. Okay, so video games, we're going to have to give it a broader category. So I'm going to call it entertainment. For example, video games. So video games would be an example of some entertainment that you can enjoy. And that must be a must for your perfect oasis. I see a link. Let's see. Okay, it needs to make people laugh or cry or get happy or extra. And comfort, functional comfort is what we're looking at. So I'm going to say functional. It needs to be comfortable that my back isn't going to like go after a couple of hours because I'm trying to fit in there. Okay. Let's see, TikTok. Okay, when you say TikTok, do you mean you should be able to create TikToks in the perfect oasis? Or like you need to have enough height and width of space for you to create TikToks? Or are you saying it must be like a TikTok inspired oasis? Because I don't know what a TikTok inspired pillow fort or a TikTok inspired room looks like. Forgive me, I'm old. I own up to it. So you're gonna have to explain that one to me a little bit. Okay, so I see someone said they have a square floor with pillars. I hope the very antique Roman pillars because you want to feel like a boss on each corner and lots of entertainment inside. Okay, create. Be able to create memes. Okay, so I'm gonna put all that in entertainment. So I'm gonna put video games, I'm gonna put TikTok, I'm gonna be able to create memes. Okay, what else do we want to make sure that we have as a design parameter or something we're going to use to judge whether or not the design of our oasis or our perfect space is perfect. Like, I'm gonna throw another one that affected me when I was a kid, and maybe it affects you, especially if you don't live by yourself, I'm assuming, hopefully, is that I needed to make sure it was easy for me to set up and it was easy for me to tear down. Because one of my mom's rules was, you can build whatever you want to build in this room as long as it doesn't hurt you, it doesn't hurt either one of your sisters, and when I tell you it's time to eat or it's time to stop playing, that you can clean up within 15 minutes. And sometimes when you build something very extravagant or fancy, the time it takes to build it and the time it takes to tear it down kind of can upset some people, especially if it takes up space. So I'm going to put down ease of creation, or ease of building. I'm going to say ease of building and removal. How long it takes me to build it and how long it takes me to take down is one of my criteria. Oh, wow. Okay, I see a couple of more responses that have come in. Okay, you should be able to sleep in it. Okay, so I'm going to put that still in comfort. I'm going to be able to sleep. But I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to say restful. I have comfort, calming, entertainment, ease of building, removal. It's restful. Restful? Resting? Whatever. We're going to put restful / resting. Lighting. Lighting can be on its own, but I also feel like it can be tied to comfort, calming, and then you have some rest. So we have some lighting here. Ooh, okay, someone said they want a sewing studio. So we're going to call a maker space. And mind you, all these design parameters, you don't have to make sure in your design. These are design parameters that we're just crowdsourcing, or we're just pulling from all of our brains together because we're tinkering together. And we're going to pick the best ones that we're going to judge our designs on. So a maker space. And what I mean by maker space is a space for you to make. Genius. And I see a sewing studio, a music studio for singing. I see a dancing studio. Wow, you guys are way more creative than me because I cannot hold a tune and I cannot dance. Even though I think I kind of try to sing and dance, not successfully, but I try. So I'm gonna give myself that point there. Okay, so let's do 1 to 2 more minutes. Yep, so we're gonna put in comfort, sleep. We're gonna include in that blankets. Someone just said it has to have blankets. Yes. Someone finally said the one that I was about to say. I like to call it structurally sound. And what I mean by structurally sound is that there's a roof to protect you from the elements in the outside world, to make you actually have your private space. And that if you actually move in it, etc., you don't actually have the whole structure fall down. I don't know how many of you all have experience with creating pillow forts, but as I got older and my body got longer, AKA I got taller, one of the actual challenges I had was that I am tall. I have long legs. I'm 5'10". And so I was tall even as a kid. And so when I would create my pillow fort, if I turned the wrong way, I would move a chair and the chair would fall down and the blankets would fall on me, and then I would lose the chapter in the book that I was reading, and then it was a whole thing having to reconstruct. So I'm going to say making sure your roof is there and making sure it is sturdy. And you will find out that even my spelling's not that great. Maybe for entertainment as one of the things, or the makerspace, it could be even like a puppet studio. So we're going to say a theater / puppet studio. Okay, I think these are a lot. This is a lot. This is a lot. Oh, wait, dang, there's one more. We forgot the most important thing. This has to be stuff that's available in your home. So I have to add that here. Let's go ahead and add. Okay. Ability to create from items in your home, right? Boom, perfect. Okay, so I think we have a good amount of actual design parameters that we see here. We have comfort, we have it has to be calming, we have ease of building and removal, it has to be restful, it has to have great lighting, we have to have space for a maker space, whether that's a sewing studio, a music studio, a dancing studio, a theater or puppet studio, it must be structurally sound, like it has to have a roof. We have to have walls that are sturdy enough to not only support the roof, but support whatever activities are going on in the actual space. If we don't have a roof, it has to be able to protect the activities taking place. And last, but certainly not least, because we wouldn't be able to build it otherwise, the ability to create the ideas from objects in your home. So what I'm going to do for the next couple of minutes is I'm going to show you some things that you can use in order to get started using Tinkercad to create the blueprint or the plan for your perfect oasis. So if we go to the right-hand side and we look at the drop, see, this is what happens when it gets close to lunch on the East Coast. I start losing where everything is. But if you look on the right-hand side and you look at the drop-down toolbar, you will see there's all these collections that I was showing you guys yesterday. So the one that I want you all to go to on the right-hand side is called the OMSI Hangout Space. So I want you to click that one, and I want you to look at all this stuff here. So the OMSI is a museum that is based in Portland that allows for people to explore STEM, or science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And they have an amazing exhibit that they did in partnership with Tinkercad. And in that exhibit, you can actually design an OMSI hangout space. So all of the stuff here includes furniture that you can find that is in the actual real life space that they transformed into Tinkercad models. The reason why I wanted to show you this feature is that I thought it would be the perfect thing to use in order to actually create a layout of what items are probably available in your home, in particular furniture, so you didn't have to start from scratch. So the first task we're probably going to do is we're going to create a basic layout of what furniture needs to be where in order for us to create our perfect oasis. So I'm going to leave it up to you guys in the Q&A part. Do you want us to create a perfect oasis that is inspired by sleeping, video games, TikTok, or a maker studio? Which one of those? So sleeping, video games, TikTok or creating memes, or a maker studio? So go ahead and let me know in the Q&A, and we'll do like a very brief outline in Tinkercad in the last couple of minutes we have. So go ahead and shoot that into the Q&A part. If you already know, based on the sketch, what you want to create, you don't have to hear me blabber on. Go ahead and start pulling things from the right-hand side and moving them over to your work plane and playing around with them with creating the basic layout of how you arrange the furniture, and then start building up from there. If you're also looking for some more materials, like for example, all the stuff in the OMSI hangout space is mostly stools and tables and chairs that you can utilize. You can also go over to the new collection, which is called Making at Home. And you can click there and you can incorporate popsicle sticks, tissue rolls, metal cans, quart of milk, yogurt cups if you just want to decorate some stuff or utilize those objects into your actual space. You can even go down further and you can go to the Smithsonian collection. And if you want to add, I don't know, a command module, a plane, a triceratops skull, or anything else to your actual Tinkercad collection stuff, go right ahead and do that. So I'm going to wait. I see, wow, okay. So I see Puppet Show, I see Makerspace, I see TikTok, and I see Studio. So the way I'm going to handle it is this here. I'm just going to call it Creative Space. So a creative space that you can do any of those 4 things, since those seem to be the very popular suggestions for me to actually create a layout of. So I'm going to go back over here to my right-hand toolbar, and I'm going to go to the OMSI Hangout Space. So the furniture that I have available in my house is 2 couches. One's a love seat, one's a regular couch I can actually lay down and stretch in. One's my bed, and then the last part is this chair that I'm rocking right here. So I'm going to look over at my right-hand side, and I think the closest thing I have to my couch is right here. So I'm going to click that and bring that over. And you can see here, I have the furniture here. Now, my sofa isn't really here. It's actually more like this here. So I'm going to rotate that 90 degrees. As such, if this is your first time seeing the Tinkercad 3D design models, when you click an object, you'll see a double arrow appear right here. That double arrow allows for you to rotate the actual object. So I'm going to click that double arrow, move my mouse back, and then rotate it the desired number of degrees I want to rotate. Now, if I know I want to exactly rotate it 90 degrees, which is boom, from here to here, then I know I could just go in where I see the actual dialog box pop up, click it, and click 90 degrees, and boom, like magic, so it happens. I'm gonna click again, and I'm gonna return it back to where it was by making it 0 degrees. So this is more like what my sofa looks like in my actual space. Actually, this work plane looks like my actual space. So here, I'm gonna have my sofa here. That's where it typically is. Now, I want to create a barrier so nobody interferes with my actual creative space, whether I'm making a TikTok meme, then I'm making a puppet show, etc. So what I'm going to do is see if I can move a piece of furniture that is kind of like my bed, but I'm going to make into my bed for right now as like a barrier. So here we have this as a table, right? This doesn't really seem to suit my needs for right now, so I'm actually going to delete it. And I'm going to go back over and look at what else could I use as a fake wall. Matter of fact, why am I still just looking at furniture? How about if I hop between 2 different collections to create something that satisfies my needs? Like this here. This block, I can actually have resemble my bed, right? So I can have it stretch about the length of my bed, make it about the width of my bed, and just do it that way. Now, if I change my camera angle and I look this way, I can see my bed's a little high. I'm going to make it a little lower. And what I can actually do is I'm going to pretend, because I live by myself in this unit, I'm going to actually use the double arrow and rotate it 90 degrees this way to show what happens when I actually do this in real life, take the mattress off the bed, raise it up to make it into a backdrop for a lot of my videos back in the day. And I'm gonna make my actual mattress look blue because I actually just put a blue, and I'm saying back in the day because I don't do it anymore, but I'll actually just put a blue like sheet over in order to make it actually look like a solid background. And I'll just have that sheet drape over. So right now I already have my backdrop for my actual TikTok videos. So this will be what it looks like here. Now, looking at it, it doesn't look that centered. So what I'm gonna do is select my sofa, and then I'm gonna select the actual mattress, and I'm gonna go over to the right-hand side like we did yesterday, go to the align tool, and I'm gonna go to the center dot here, double check my future. Does that look centered? Does that look straight? Look straight to me, click down the middle, and it looks like when I check my camera angle, which I do with that upper left-hand box, it looks pretty straight from what I can tell here. I'm still not happy with like that part, but it's okay. And now I'm gonna add a couple of more pieces. So I said before I had a chair, right? So I'm gonna go back to the collection, and I'm gonna look at the OMSI Hangout space, and I'm gonna look at what looks closer to the chair I have. Now the chair I have doesn't have a back to it because I like to actually be able to like support my own back. You know, it's a whole fitness thing. So I'm just gonna have that here. And I'm gonna actually make sure it's aligned with all the stuff here. So when I'm selecting multiple objects, I'm pressing the Shift key on my keyboard when I'm selecting all those objects to align. And so now you're seeing how this is coming together. This here would be my stool. So this would be where I would set up my camera or have like a friend of mine or a family member press record. As I'm here using this as a backdrop for my actual TikTok videos, or for if I'm recording something, or if I have like a microphone and I'm recording some music, it can be there. So this is just like a very quick setup of how you can use Tinkercad to lay out the furniture and things of that nature. I see a couple of you guys are sending me your Tinkercad links so I can actually see what you're working on. I would say that Zoom is kind of weird. I don't know if I can actually access your Tinkercad models as you're actually working on them, but I'm going to try. I'm still trying to figure out a couple of things on this webinar that I can do while maintaining your privacy. So the best thing for you to do is actually to ask an adult if you can download a screenshot, and I'm going to show you again where you do a screenshot. So over here in the send to part on the upper right hand corner, instead of sending me the link, download a picture of your design. Make sure it's the best picture you can possibly take or download. Click that button and then post it on social media for us to be able to see it. The reason is Zoom's kind of funny. And remember, we're all about privacy. So when you guys are at school, this is why sometimes certain things at school you can't do or share. Is because we're concerned about your privacy. So here, I need you all to just send me the pictures and I can review it that way, because I'm not entirely sure if we can access your Tinkercad files directly, and I'm able to give you direct feedback. If you have a specific question, I'm more than happy to help with that, but I need to see what you're doing. I know technology is great. We can do live webinars like this, but this is where it kind of stops and we're no longer able to be as helpful. So let me go ahead and clear off some space. Don't worry about these design parameters. We're actually gonna have them tomorrow. So don't feel bad that I'm taking those off. So in the last couple of minutes, I want you all to start exploring the OMSI Hangout space and a couple of the CAD models here, as well as using the Tinkercad basic shapes that you can find and this toolbar here to start replicating and creating a layout of what your room is going to look like for your Perfect Oasis. Now, couple caveats, right? If you're planning on using a sheet, you're not going to be able to use a sheet on here because it's a rigid structure is the only thing you're able to do on Tinkercad for right now. So you're going to have to use your imagination. If you want my suggestion on how to use this layout is how you plan to use furniture and rigid objects in and around your house in order to bring together your Perfect Oasis or your space or your perfect space. See, this is what happens when we get closer to the afternoon. Do not think that this is going to be the perfect blueprint. I think it's more important to make sure you know the layout of your space instead of what's it going to look like once a blanket's on top. Because a lot of this is going to be the structural support if you're thinking about a blanket going on top. If you're thinking of it being more of a space like this one here that I'm slowly making into my creative space, then don't worry. You're going to be seeing all the naked bare bones of this. So I want you guys to start doing the early pieces. If we run out of time, because we only have 3 minutes left, don't worry. Tinkercad is going to save your design, and we're going to continue working on this tomorrow and doing a couple of challenges around this project. So while you have me, get started, ask a couple of questions. I'm going to stay online for another 5 minutes after the top of the hour for any last minute questions you guys may have. Okay, so I am getting definite response that I cannot actually access your Tinkercad edit links. This is a security thing and a privacy thing. So what I'm going to ask you to do is simply just post a snapshot of your actual design and share it with us on social media with parents' permission. So make sure that you have parents' permission because you're not supposed to be on social media on your own personal account. So I'm going to go ahead and give you all that information. If you want to follow Mbadika to see other projects and hands-on activities you can do at home outside of the webinars, feel free to follow us on, and again, with parent permission, on Twitter and Instagram. We're also on YouTube, which is where all the recordings of our webinar will be posted later the afternoon or the next day, depending on the morning or afternoon sessions. And you'll find all that information on there. So I'm going to be online for another 5 minutes as you guys are putting the final touches on your first draft or your first round of making your Perfect Oasis using Tinkercad. Feel free to ask me any questions. If you have anything that's bothering you or lingering or something you would like for me to review. Again, I cannot review your Tinkercad links. That is a privacy and security thing. But yes, you are fine to do your design on your own. When I say we're tinkering together, it is not follow me to the end of the world. It is, I'm showing you the basic tools you can use in Tinkercad, but I want this project to be your project. I want this to reflect you. So don't feel like you have to follow me on this part. I'm just showing you some ideas on how I would approach this. Your oasis is your oasis. It's what makes you uniquely you. So don't feel like you have to follow mine. Like, I'm pretty sure you could do much better. So don't fret on that one. Any other questions anyone has, feel free to hit me up on the Q&A. But this is where we're going to pause today. If you want to continue working on your oasis throughout the afternoon, feel free. Tomorrow we're going to pick up here, and I'm going to show you the next steps from transforming your Tinkercad model of your perfect oasis into a real life one, as well as a little something we can do with our perfect oasis that involves Lego. So this is where we say sayonara. I will still be online for another 4 minutes, but this is where I leave you guys be. So continue to build, make, learn, and let's continue to tinker together throughout the week. Ciao, guys. If you're still here for Q&A, I'm still here. I'm just saying bye to those who, it's obviously top of the hour, so they have to jet. But and I probably also should have said, if you had any feedback, if I was going too fast, if I was going too slow, if you want additional challenges or things of that nature, just simply let me know at your earliest convenience. I'm also going to ask you guys tomorrow if you're back to give me your feedback, because this is about you all. But oh, don't worry. Hasta mañana. Muchas gracias por su tiempo. Hasta mañana. Ciao. Okay, last minute before I have to take my lunch break, before I come back for the afternoon session. So last call. In 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ciao, guys. I hope to see you all tomorrow. And don't forget, build, make, learn, and let's tinker together. See you, Anna.